Press that.
That'll be the first mistake. Good morning, everyone. I'm chairing the meeting today in absence of Peter Easy. He has an appointment he must attend today, so he's asked me to stand in as vice chair, so I shall do my very best. Please help out and guide me as you think fit. Good morning, everyone else online as well. Do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies.
None. Okay. And any declarations of interest from any participants? No? Okay. That's fairly straightforward. And minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone have any commentary? Just start with the factual corrections first. Anyone have any factual corrections from the 15th of September? All agree? All agree online as well? Not seeing any dissenting voices. Oh, and I can't actually see your little hand, Andrew, because my screen's very small. Sorry, Andrew, do you want to comment?
Yeah, apologies. Just on a housekeeping matter. The volume in the chamber is very low. I don't know if it's me or whether other people are struggling as well. So I wonder if you could just speak up slightly.
I will do my very best.
I'll turn up the speaker.
To raise on that. Decision notices, anyone? And that was it. So we'll swiftly proceed on to matter 4, which is the local resolution protocol. I'm grateful that Councillor is still with us until past. So I'm going to hand over to James now, and he'll take it from here, and hopefully we can get Councillor Taylor's input before she leaves.
protocols. As a result of that advice, the Monitoring Officers Group issued guidance to the Monitoring Officers of Principal Councils in Wales, and they provided a number of criteria for them to assess their local resolution protocols against. So I've listed that criteria at paragraph 3.4 of the report. There are 11 points there. I won't read all those out now, but they're there for members to consider in full. On receipt of that guidance, I've prepared a draft local resolution protocol, which could be found in Appendix 1 of this report. So I'll just run through the draft local resolution protocol to give members an overview as to how it will operate in practice. So paragraph 1, the introduction, sets out the basis for the protocol, and as I say, that's relates to the Ombudsman's guidance, which states that local authorities should have processes in place to deal with low-level member-on-member disputes. In terms of scope, it makes it clear that the protocol will only apply to that criteria, so low-level member-on-member disputes, but also not to repeated occurrences of this same sort of behaviour that's been dealt with either by the Standards Committee or by the protocol or by the Ombudsman previously. For example, there may be conduct that might be considered to be low level. However, if it's repeated conduct, then it falls outside the scope of this protocol. In terms of procedure, the protocol envisages a two-stage process. So stage 1 involves the complainant writing to me, setting out the full details of their complaint. I then need to make a determination as to whether it falls within the scope in accordance with paragraph 2.1. And then if it does, I'll attempt to resolve the complaint informally by agreement. That could take the form of an apology, or, for example, if it's a social media post is being complained about, the removal of that post. Anything really, any conduct or any action that's required to resolve the matter informally without it progressing. If it isn't possible to resolve the issue at stage 1, then it'll proceed to stage 2, which is a paragraph 3.11 of the protocol. This essentially is a mediation meeting between all parties, so the complainant, the subject of the complaint, and the relevant group leaders, because they have a statutory responsibility to uphold high standards of conduct amongst their members. And also I've included the option for the chair of standards to attend that meeting if they want to, if they feel it would be helpful. That might be particularly helpful, for example, if there's an independent member without a group leader in the future. We don't have that at the moment, but there may well be a member without a group leader who won't have the support of the group leader, so the chair of standards may want to come along in those circumstances. So the purpose of this meeting is to get all parties together with the encouragement and support of their relevant group leaders to try and resolve the issue by agreement. If it isn't resolved at stage 2, then the process comes to an end and the complainant can choose to refer the matter to the Ombudsman for consideration. Can decide to bring the protocol to an end and make a complaint to the Ombudsman or refer the matter to the Ombudsman. In terms of next steps, if the committee endorses the protocol today, I'll take a further report to full council and recommend approval and adoption. That'll probably be March now. We don't have a meeting in February, but we've got plenty of time to get a report together by March if it is approved today. And so turning to the recommendations of the report, the recommendation is that the Standards Committee endorses the local resolution protocol attached to Appendix 1, subject to the approval of Council. So happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, James. Does anyone have any questions? Ruth has a question. Does anyone online have any questions, just so that I know? Is that Andrew with his hand up? Yep. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Ruth, do you want to go first?
Okay, thanks. I can see that there's a 30-day time frame built into the time span for the complaint to be actually made from the event. So is there any merit, do you think, in having any kind of time frames then for stage 1 and stage 2? Because it looks completely open-ended in terms of time scales. But I'm guessing there's a reason why they haven't been written in.
Yes, I can answer. James and I have discussed this just prior to the meeting, and I raised exactly the same query. And James is going to consider, because I asked particularly, how does this protocol tie into the actual Ombudsman's timescales for complaint? And as I understood it from James, this protocol would take some of the time away from the Ombudsman's complaint. So the councillors have 12 months to lodge a complaint. So if they go down this route first, then that starts the clock ticking on the Ombudsman's timescales. Have I got that right, James? The timescale of 30 days at stage 1, we could have someone put their complaint in on day 29. That's 11 months for the Ombudsman. And then you've got the times for the setting up of the meeting and the resolution. That's another period of time. And as you've raised, Ruth, stage 2 doesn't have a timescale. So James and I discussed whether that was something that needed to be boundaried, excuse me, and is something that I think James is going to go away and consider. So I'll let him talk to that.
I think what we discussed was the 30-day timescale for stage 1 is the timescale with which the complainant has to initiate the complaint. The stage 2 process then is kind of outside the control of the complainant. If they want to proceed, then I will need to set up a meeting, and I was going to add a line within the stage 2 process to say that it will be set up as soon as reasonably practicable, and also include a line to reiterate that ordinarily the Ombudsman requests that a complaint is received in 12 months for evidential purposes. So whilst the Ombudsman may consider a complaint outside of that process, the guidance makes it clear they expect members to do it within 12 months, purely for evidential reasons. So like the issues are still fresh in people's minds. So if I reiterate within the protocol that the Ombudsman recommends that complaints are made within 12 months, and then add a line to stage 2 to say that this will be arranged as soon as reasonably practicable for all parties, because obviously we have to get the complainant, the subject, and the group leaders together to sort that out. Hopefully that will deal with those issues. So if members were to endorse this protocol today, it would be on the basis of me making those amendments.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Rhian. Because I'm sure we all recognise that the likely success of mediation diminishes the longer time passes between the initial grievance and the conversation. But no, that's great. And just one more question, and apologies for raising it here if it's a trivial matter. Can you just tell me
Just to clarify, James, you mentioned that there may be some occasions where there isn't a group leader for members. Could you explain when that occurs so that all members are familiar with that?
Of course. So there may be situations where a member is elected as an independent councillor with no affiliated membership to a political party or group, and they won't then have a group leader. In those circumstances, I've included the option for, not just for those circumstances, but there is a discretion.
Taylor, so do you want to ask your question first with the permission of the other two people? Do you want to proceed?
Thank you, Chair. I think Andrew had his hand up before me, and I'm happy for him to go before I can hang on, you know, for a bit. I just need to not be too long after 5:30.
Francis, please proceed. I'm very happy for you to go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I was just, and I'll hang on as long as I can, Chair, and then I'll leave, just so you're aware of that. So I'll try and listen to as much of the debate as possible. I was just going to, first of all, comment that it's very helpful to have this local process a little while ago, where not only we didn't have a monitoring officer at the time, but we didn't have a local resolution protocol setting out the stages with such clarity, and it was very unhelpful indeed. That said, my observation or just point really is, if the complaint were about a group leader, then you know, is there a need for an additional, you know, point about, for example, then you would probably be expecting that the chair of standards would attend in those circumstances, because a group leader could have a complaint, obviously, and you know what that would look like. And I'm just thinking, certainly for a while we did have a member, didn't we, that wasn't affiliated to a group in the current council, but I don't know what the circumstances are now. And that was kind of really my observation and my sort of question about if a complaint applies to a group leader. And just for the other members, as an example, I am a group leader. So I'm the leader of the independent grouping of councillors. There is, you know, so just as an example of, and as James points out, we do have responsibility to try and, you know, if a complaint reaches us or a concern about behaviour or standards or conduct, we've got there is potentially an opportunity to try and resolve that with us, you know, informally. And then obviously if there's a complaint, then this adds another layer. So in the first instance, if you thought that a member was just like a bit off, then you could always obviously speak to them, but you can speak to their group leader, which is something I've certainly done in the past. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Taylor. Do you want to address that matter of the group leaders, James, please?
So similarly, if there is a member who's unaffiliated and doesn't have a group leader, the option there is for the chair of standards to attend the meeting. Just to reiterate as well, the chair of standards could attend in any event if they wanted to, so the discretion is there. But I would suggest that the situations where you would want the chair of standards themselves would want to attend would be where a group leader isn't available or the complaint is by a group leader themselves. So I think that is addressed within, or there is provision for that within the protocol already, Chair.
Does that satisfy you, Councillor Taylor, or do you want more discussion on that?
I'm happy with that. I just wanted to note that obviously, I don't know if I couldn't see a specific point that just said, in the event that the complaint refers to a group leader, then it would be more likely, or it would be desirable, or it would be, you know, we'd look to include the chair of standards there. I don't know if it's just worth setting that out, really. That's all.
Okay,
thank you.
Let me address the rest of the committee. Does anyone else have a view on that needs to be included or stated clearly? Mr. John?
Would it help? Would it help you in your role?
I've got no view on it. I mean, there's provision there for the chair of standards to attend if they want to, if they feel it's appropriate. I would certainly recommend the chair does in those circumstances, but you know, it's not for me to compel the chair of standards to come along. So it's up to the members, really, the independent members, actually, if they want to propose an amendment to this protocol and suggest we add a line to that effect, then that can certainly be done. If it's moved and voted on today, I can certainly agree and put an amendment into that effect. But as I say, there is provision there for the chair of standards to attend in any circumstances.
Mr. Blackmore, do you have any view on this?
Well, I think it's covered in 3.12, the point Francis has raised. So I'm content.
You are content. And Ms. Gibson, do you have a view as an independent member?
Thank you. I am content to with the way it's framed from Francis.
Sorry, I missed that, Ms. Gibson. Could you say that again? Hello?
I think you're on mute.
I am signalling to tell it unmute, please. I'm sorry for this delay.
Could you just restate what you said, Ms. Gibson, please?
Yes. Am I coming through now? Okay.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you. Apologies for that. I'm entirely content. I think it's been well framed by Councillor Taylor and our further discussion.
Okay. So 3.12 covers the issue that Councillor Taylor has raised in that case. Are we all content with that? Okay, thank you. Any other issues, Councillor Taylor, you want to raise before your departure on this matter? No?
No, thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for allowing me to jump in there before the others, but I'll listen to their points. Thank you, and thanks to Andrew as well for his courtesy. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll have Mr. Blackmore next. Andrew, would you like to raise your matter?
Yes, thank you. Firstly, I think I'm overall I'm happy with the document, so thank you, James. But I'm going to raise two what may be perceived as trivial points, but I'm going to ask them anyway. So, in respect to the scope of this LRP, does it only apply to elected members or elected and lay members? And irrespective of the answer to that point, does the document make a sufficient distinction between elected and lay members? And we'll go back to paragraph 3.11 and this point about relevant group leaders. Clearly, lay members do not have relevant group leaders. So your comments be much appreciated, James.
Yes, of course. So the purpose of this protocol is to deal with elected members, essentially. So it's members who are elected to the principal council, and for us to deal with that informally through group leaders' involvement. So it is for elected members only.
So the second point then, James, is does this document need to make a distinction then? Does it need to be clearer that it doesn't apply to lay members? Because I would politely suggest I'm a member of a council, but clearly I'll take your guidance.
I'm entirely happy to make that amendment if members feel that it is unclear. Absolutely. Just need that moved, Chair, and agreed.
Does everyone else agree with that position? Yes. Councillor Strong, yes. Councillor Taylor, yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. James will make that amendment as well. I think once we'll have some other discussions because Mr. John wants to raise something, but as there are some amendments going on, I may ask James whether he can send a draft, the second draft, to all of us to quickly review to make sure it's been included, all our points have been included. But I will put a time limit on that because obviously he'll want to lodge it with council for approval. So, any other issues, Mr. Blackmore? Mr. Blackman? I'm struggling to see your name, sorry. More.
One minor point, and apologies. Looking at paragraph 2.1, the bullet points under there, on the scope of this protocol. I just wonder whether we need to amend the first bullet point to make reference to the fact that the complaint needs to be made by a member of the council, but also be against another member of the council. I know it's referenced in the preamble, but doesn't actually appear in paragraphs 2.1. Yet again, James, your comments be much appreciated.
The protocol only applies to members, so low-level member-on-member complaints. So I think it's pretty clear, but if members want that further amendment, I'm happy to do so.
My view would be that if you're going to include the previous point about it's about elected members, not elected and lay members, then it's very clear it would be about members of the council. Do you agree with that, Mr. Blackmore, or not? If James puts in the previous point you raised.
Well, arguably, I suppose yes. I'm hesitating, but for the purpose of this conversation, yes, I think it'll be clearer. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll task James with reviewing that point, and we can then all look at it perhaps when the second drafter comes. Does anyone in the room have any further comments on that point raised by Mr. Blackmore? Okay. And lastly, Mr. John, you had your hand up, so thank you for being patient and going last.
Thank you, Chair. The encounters we've had with the Ombudsman have been with community councils. We've attended meetings with complaints made about community councillors. Is there a ripple effect from this document to the way that community councillors might work? Or is that outside the remit of this?
Does this apply to community councils?
Yeah.
No. It's just for the Monmouthshire County Council.
Thank you.
So the clarification point about elected members would actually...
Well, it's the Monmouthshire County Council Local Resolution Protocol, so it doesn't apply to other organisations.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Are there any other matters?
Just come back on that. Obviously, James is correct on that. We've discussed it. I believe, however, it is good practice for community councils and town councils to adopt their own local resolution protocols. But they might be the same as this, but they might be different. This is a model one that we've amended slightly, so I'd like to be exactly the same. But they should adopt their own. But this one doesn't apply to them.
That's exactly right, yeah. So the guidance of the Ombudsman to town and community councils makes it clear that they should have local resolution protocols in place to deal with their disputes, but it would be their own separate entities, so they should have their own successfully. And One Voice Wales and Welsh Government are currently having a rolling outreach programme to town and community councils to promote this, and also looking into whether there should be further guidance issued to town and community councils in respect of local resolution protocols.
Are you satisfied with that, Councillor Strong? Absolutely. Yes, okay, thank you very much. Anybody else have any other issues? I think it is Councillor Taylor, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say, I know this doesn't apply to community and town councils, but I think that piece of work that James just outlined, I think it'd be really helpful to hear a bit more about that in due course, you know, in respect of the committee's role in trying to support as it can high standards of behaviour and conduct in community and town councils, and you know, whether there's any opportunity to encourage the community town councils to kind of, you know, consider whether their local resolution protocols could be updated or could, you know, be strengthened really to enable that to happen. And then secondly, Chair, the only other point I wanted to make was, you know, when Mr. John mentioned the timescales for the Ombudsman, I was going to say 30 days. I have to say that would be lightning fast, you know, lightning fast. That would be like, you know, the blink of an eye in compared to perhaps, dare I say it, the processes that it would appear to me the Ombudsman has. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Do you have any comment on the first point raised by Councillor James?
Only to reiterate that the Welsh Government and One Voice Wales are actually got a series of workshops in place at the moment with town and community councils to highlight the importance of local resolution protocols, and they're currently gathering evidence as to how they operate at the moment within town and community councils, potentially with a view to issuing guidance, although that wasn't quite clear at the moment. That I couldn't get any solid answer as to what their intentions are for the future. They are just information gathering at the moment. But the workshop I attended, it was very much focused towards how town and community councils should be using local resolution protocols where possible to try and resolve disputes before they're escalated.
So just so that I'm clear on this, James, so One Voice Wales and the Welsh Government are doing this joint project together to gather, I mean, information gathering, it sounds like, but we're unclear as to what they're going to publish as a result of that, or when they're going to publish it.
Exactly that, yeah. So it's been ongoing for the last 6 months or so already. I attended a workshop in December and directly asked that question. What is the intention? Do they intend to produce advice, a model, a local resolution protocol for councils to adopt? And the answer was that they don't know at this stage. It's just information gathering. They may choose to do nothing. They just want to assess the operation of local resolution protocols in town and community councils.
Councillor Taylor has now left the meeting, so we can't ask her views on that response, but we'll take it as read. Could I ask, as the chair of the committee today, James, for you to report back to us at our next meeting as to the progress of that, because that seems like a really important piece of information gathering that is being done Wales-wide, I am making an assumption on. And that would be really important information for every council, not just Monmouthshire County Council, to be aware of, and could guide how you and the Standards Committee function with regard to community councils.
Yes, of course, Chair. I did ask the Welsh Government to include the All Wales Monitoring Officer Group in any further communications, so we are kept up to date with the progress on it. So I'll report back certainly.
Okay, so can we add that to as an agenda item for next meeting, just to touch base on it, because I'm sure by the time the next meeting arrives, we may well have all slipped into the back of our memories. Anyone else have any other issues on that point raised by Councillor Taylor? Councillor Strong? Nothing? Okay, thank you. The next issue on the agenda, if we can...
So before you go on, can I go back to an earlier issue about timescales? Yes. I don't have strong feelings about this, but my gut feeling is that timescales, the more you put in rules, the more chance you got that solutions aren't reached because of technicalities, and the purpose of a local resolution protocol is to deal with things as informally as possible, and therefore, unless there's a compelling case for timescales, it might be better to leave that particular technicality out of things. As Councillor Taylor says, the Ombudsman is likely to take 1 year, 2 years, something like that, before they finish. So any timescales that we would impose, wouldn't really bite too much into that. Of course, it is important to deal with things in a timely fashion, but if either the complainant or the respondent feels that it's not being dealt with, as I read it, they both have the option to withdraw from that process and refer it straight on to the Ombudsman. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Strong. I think the issue really was that there is a timescale on stage 1, as James has detailed, we all feel very confident that James would be very much proactive about making meetings, but it's about kind of making sure that everyone who's participating in that, particularly at the stage 2 process, just kind of galvanizes themselves and gets on with it rather than letting it drift and drift and drift. So it wasn't so much about putting a definite time, it was about boundarying it and saying it should be held as soon as possible. It should be, kind of clear what the aims are.
Yeah, I'm not sure the difference between boundarying it and putting a strict timetable on. Can you do that in reality? I mean, as soon as possible doesn't actually mean too much, does it? I don't know.
Well, depends on how you view it. Yes, I appreciate what you're saying.
I'm certainly happy with it as soon as possible. Yeah. I'd be more reluctant to put a strict, X number of days or whatever. Yeah, I'm sure group leaders would want to deal with things as quickly as possible anyway, to get it off of their desks.
So that's why I suggested really as soon as possible, because I think if you put a strict timescale on stage 2, there may well be reasonable and genuine reasons why it can't be held in that timescale, and then we fall out of protocol unnecessarily. There is always the option for any member, if they feel as though the process being unnecessarily prolonged, to refer the matter to the Ombudsman instead. So a timescale, certainly for stage 1, a fixed timescale, so a member has to submit their complaint, that starts the clock, and then the onus then is on me to get everybody together to arrange a meeting as soon as possible, which I think is what the committee wanted. So if the committee was to say stage 2 within another 30 days, I would advise against that, because you're probably going to have situations where complaints would fall outside of the scope of the LRP unnecessarily.
I mean, the way I would view it is the as soon as possible is on James as well. It's not just on the complainants and you know, it's everyone who has to be in that room or convened in that meeting. So, and it's in James's interest to do it as soon as possible, the monitoring officer, but in this case, James.
I think if you're trying to resolve a matter informally, you need to deal with it quickly, I think.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of fundamental point to it. So.
Okay. Are we content that we have explored all those matters on the local resolution protocols? So what I would ask James is, bearing in mind that there have been a number of helpful suggestions to consider for inclusion, can I ask that you redraft? Now, when does this have to be presented before council for approval?
So there's no deadline. It's when it's approved by the Standards Committee, I can take it forward and then have it approved by council. But the next meeting of council will be in March, the beginning of March. So what I would ask, if possible, is for the committee to approve the local resolution protocols, subject to the amendments discussed today. I can circulate that amended version to members just to confirm that it complies with what was discussed today, and then take a report to council in March.
Okay, so how soon, we're talking of timescales, how soon could you make the amendments for us to review? So do you want us to say we must return the, you know, kind of yes-no answers by, I don't know, arbitrarily the 21st of February, or is that too quick for you?
No, I think they are, you know, it's quite minor amendments I could make this week. I can get it out before Friday, certainly, probably earlier than that. And probably middle of the week, I would have thought. I've got commitments all day tomorrow and some this
Chair, can I make a point about how soon we need to do this? It might be that Nicola would advise on this, but I don't think councillors will be too upset if this didn't go to them until April, for the simple reason that the March meeting is the one that discusses the annual budget and is likely to be a very long meeting. We've already built in a backup meeting for the following day in case it doesn't get resolved in March. But I will take advice from yourself and from Nicola as to whether they regard that as an appropriate point.
I think regardless of when it goes to council, whether it's March or April, I'd like to get the committee to approve the amendments so it's fresh in their mind. So if I get it out early, middle of this week, if you can come back to me by next week.
Okay. Well, how about you in your own timescale do the amendments, and then as soon as you've sent them to us, you give us 2 weeks to give a response, maximum.
Okay.
And then if someone hasn't responded, then you'll have to assume that they agree. But I think it's important, bearing in mind there's other changes that we're asking for, that we all just cast eyes over it and give our final decision to you outside the meeting.
What I would suggest is, Chair, when I make the amendments, I'll make them in bold and make it really clear what words have been added, so it's easier for members to see.
Yes. Does everyone agree with that? Who's in the room? Andrew, do you agree with that? Yep. Thank you. Thank you for that. The next issue is the frequency and sequencing of meetings. Now, as I'm standing in as chair, obviously Peter has been discussing this with James. And Peter has suggested that we should have a frequency of 2 meetings a year going forward, one in June and one in early December. Now, James can give you the reasons for those suggested months, because he's much more familiar with the council timetable than I am.
It just ties in neatly, Chair, with the statutory decisions that the committee needs to make. So we need to appoint a chair at the first available opportunity after the AGM. The AGM is in May, so June would be obviously the first opportunity for the committee to appoint a chair after that. And then the annual report needs to be approved by the committee at the end of the municipal year, so we could take the report to December and then have it approved at council shortly after. So it just times in well with that. What the chair suggested is fixed 2 meetings, but obviously, as is always the case, the committee can decide to meet at any point if it wishes to. So if business arose, or for example, if we met in June and there was a piece of work that needed a follow-up meeting. So, for example, if you asked me to go away, do some research, or produce another report, you wouldn't then have to wait until December. You could come back 2-3 months or whenever's convenient for members. So instead of fixing 3 or 4 meetings which are then cancelled for lack of business, 2 meetings which we know we do need to deal with statutory reporting issues, and we can add other items to that, and then have the opportunity, as always, to add additional items for any other business that arises.
Does anyone have any comment on that? Councillor Strong, are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
Yep. And what about you, Mr. Blackmore?
Yep, I'm happy with the proposal.
Okay. I also suggested to James out with this meeting that if matters between meetings arose, then that needed to be reviewed quickly and needed, us to convene, that the opportunity to do that as a quick video meeting would, particularly for a particular item, would allow us then to, kind of
Establish a quorum.
Yes, quickly, and then we can proceed from there into the full meeting instead of, waiting. So I think that would be the addition to that item for the minutes, is that we have that provision in place, and it doesn't take too much time out of people's days then to quickly. Ms. Gibson, are you happy with that arrangement, or do you have a...
Thank you. I am aware my settings have dropped out the camera and I'm unable to remedy that without losing contact on the call, so I do apologise. It would be helpful if we could have an indication on the projected date, please, for December. But I know Councillor Broomfield referred to this some time back. It does sometimes cut across people's arrangements for the Christmas period, so it would be very helpful to know that in advance. And likewise, really, with June, to give us notice if we're going to have just 2 meetings, the dates become very crucial.
Yes, that's a very good point. And in fact, the message from Peter, the chair, is that we should be mindful of Councillor Brumfield's engagements and have the meeting in early December, not later. So can we task you, James, with planning the meetings for June and December, maybe earlier rather than later in both months? That might be helpful.
Of course, Chair. So Nicola will have a look at the diary and we'll put it for the first week of December as early as possible, as soon as we've got a room available. And similarly for June, we put it in the first week of June.
Does that suit everyone? Yep. And
thank you, Chair.
Those online as well, yes? Yep. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Okay, and I think that concludes the actual formal items on the agenda. Are there any other business that anyone wants to raise, or any questions or queries that you've suddenly thought of and thought, oh gosh, I've forgotten to ask that question on that point? Mr. Blackmore, do you have anything else to raise?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gibson?
Thank you, no.
Mr. John? Ms. Price? Councillor?
No, I'm happy. Thankfully, councillors seem to be behaving themselves lately.
That's always excellent news. Okay, in which case I will draw this meeting to a close, and thank you all for attending, those online and those in the room. Thanks also to James for his skillful management of our committee, and also to Nick. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye.